What's up, everyone? Welcome to Call to the Bullpen. I'm David Payne with Brad Zampar and Jimmy Miller. Let's play ball.
Bouncer down the line, Urshela, backhand, long throw, the stretch at first, out at first! 3-2. Fly, that one deep toward the wall, backing up Bay, reaching, what a catch! A spectacular grab by Bay. High fly ball to right from Peterson, hit well, Renfroe got turned around, and somehow... That was ridiculous!
This play. Throw the glove out just in case.
Welcome to the 10th episode of this young MLB season. We are in the last week of May right now, and we're going to talk a little bit about the New York Yankees to kick it off here because we had another DFA in the long string of big contract DFAs that we've seen over the last year or so, which is Aaron Hicks finally getting DFA'd. It felt like this has been needed for, 2 years now or so. So the Yankees finally cutting ties there, and I was always somebody who thought that this was a crap deal and that it made no sense to sign a 28-year-old center fielder to a 7-year deal. So I was always on the train of this is going to go poorly, and it sure did. It went more poorly than even I imagined it would go. So good to see that they're cutting the ties there. That contract never should have been made. But what do you guys think of Aaron Hicks getting the DFA? Is he getting a shot somewhere else, or is this probably the end of the line for him?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the end of the line for him. I mean, he's always had the tools and the skill set to be a great player. You look, I think he was maybe a first overall pick or maybe like easily a first round pick, I think top 10. But he just couldn't put it together, couldn't stay on the field. I don't think he gets a shot elsewhere. I think he's kind of done. Maybe he might get like a minor league shot, but I don't see him just coming back and getting some opportunities to be maybe like a backup on a major league team. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, that contract was really made no sense at the time because they gave it to him right after they traded for him, which was like a deadline deal, and they traded John Ryan Murphy, who was a backup catcher at the time. You were basically swapping him out just for for somebody who you thought was depth, and then he gives you he was in the half season right when they traded for him, he was like a legitimately decent player. He was good for them, but then in the offseason you go and give him a 7 years, $70 million deal. That made no sense. That was one of the most questionable moves that I've seen the Yankees make in the last few years. When I saw it made, it was like, why? There's nothing behind this on any level, and it was weird to see them do that. But I think he'll get not a major league chance, but he'll definitely sign a major league or a minor league deal this year. I'm sure. I mean, probably by the end of June, he'll be playing in the minor leagues at least somewhere. Just for off his name value right now, it's the first time he's had this kind of thing. Somebody will jump on that, but it's definitely long coming for him being DFA'd.
It was also extremely weird for them to listen. Guys, we've said this on the show before. Guys are not center fielders after age 30. Even Mike Trout, who's the greatest of our generation, is a horrible center fielder now. I'll be the one to say it. He cannot play the outfield. His outfield metrics are pitiful. So it made no sense to give a 28-year-old center fielder that deal and not have another center fielder, right? Brett Gardner was the other guy. You have Bader now, but that was just a last year move, and this deal was a couple of years ago. There was no other plan for a center fielder there. You've had Judge play some games there, but that was just bizarre that to give an older guy that money to play that position and not have someone there with the track record of Andrew McCutchen being off center field, Adam Jones being off center field, all the greatest center fielders of this generation off center field by 30. So that was super weird. But J.R. Murphy, little fun fact about him is that he caught Mariano Rivera's final outing. So that is his claim to fame there, is that he might be some no-name backup catcher, but he caught the last inning of the greatest closer in the history of baseball. So a little nod to him there. But while we're talking about Yankees outfielders, we had some drama there with Aaron Judge, who was accused of sign stealing. There's a clip of him definitely doing like a little side eye during his at bats. Was that against the Blue Jays? So he's doing a little side eye in his at bats against the Jays there. It was definitely noticeable. It was repeated throughout several at bats. And the Jays at the end of the day ended up saying that they were tipping pitches. So what do you guys think the ethics on this are? I mean, if they're tipping pitches, I'd have no issue with a sign relaying from the dugout to the batter. If you don't tip your pitches, it's simple as that. But what do you guys think? Because a lot of people got real quick on the Yankees are cheating, this and that. Aaron Judge is cheating. We know MLB's given Judge the juiced balls anyway, so he doesn't need to cheat. I think it was just a case of pitch tipping. What do you guys think?
No, I mean, as long as it's not like artificial, like with the mechanics of
Or
going
technology
through.
or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like as long as it's natural, not artificial, in the sense that you're doing it, all naturally. You're getting it. It's relaying, verbally or maybe through signs from maybe the dugout to the player hitting. I'm okay with that, as long as it doesn't get to the point where you have like a piece in someone's ear and it's being relayed like that. I mean, if you're going to tip pitches, there should be some sort of consequence for that. I mean, you're talking about the best athletes in the world. It's going to happen.
I mean, the Yankees obviously knew that he was tipping pitches, but the best thing that they could come up with was look at the dugout and this is what we're going to go with. That's a little weird for me, but I mean, nobody's going to go and bang on a trash can and say that pitch is coming because of prior consequences. But I think it was just them tipping pitches. They had an edge on the game. Judges checking in, like you were hearing your last name said or your first name said back when we were in AAU or even Little League to some extent. So it's nothing crazy, but that's just the way the game is sometimes.
What consequences? I didn't think that there were any significant consequences for that. So
there really wasn't any consequence.
No, they had to fire the GM. Hinch got another job immediately after. Oh, these guys, they're all fine. So there's no consequence. Steal all the signs you want. But yeah, I think that something a little more creative, like you said, like we used to do, like first name or last name or something like that coming from the dugout, other than just look over there. But everything's fair when you're outside, like Jim said, outside of technology, anything's fair. But you got to be more. I don't know how these guys have played, veteran players tipping pitches and not picking up on that. When you have the video of him the whole game looking, how by the seventh inning are you not picking up on that? But the Blue Jays, who we'll talk about next, are a garbage organization. Can't stand them. So you could do the Astros sign stealing scheme against the Blue Jays, and I would be fine with it. I'll say I hate the Blue Jays. They're the whiniest team in baseball, man. It's like every single series they have an issue with the other team. Alek Manoah talking shit yesterday to the Orioles. We had a history with them. We got a little rivalry of the Birds in the AL East here. So we hate them for that, but they're such a soft, whiny team every single year, and I can't stand them. So it's steal whatever signs you want against them. It's all fair game against them. But Jim, do you have any beef with the Blue Jays? Like Brad and I, you're in different leagues. I don't know if you care about the Blue Jays the way that we do, being a Mets fan. But outside looking in, what do you think of this team?
I mean, they have some players that I like. I mean, I'm a big George Springer fan. I mean, really, other than that, like Springer, I kind of like Vladdy too. But I mean, like Manoah, I'm not a big fan of. But Bobichet's all right. They have some guys that kind of stay in their path and just kind of play. But you do have those whiny players like Manoah, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he's going to bounce back. He's been pretty bad this year. I don't mind the Blue Jays that much. I mean, they kind of remind me of maybe the Phillies. Would kind of be a comparable team when you think about. It's more the Phillies fan base than their players, though. I can't stand Schwarber. Not the biggest Harper fan, but it is what it is. But yeah, I'd say that would kind of be a comparable thing if you talk about interdivision rivalries.
Yeah, I rationally dislike the Blue Jays, and Brad, you rationally dislike the Blue Jays as rivals. But Jim, of course, you rationally dislike the Phillies and their players. Off the top of your head, any players or teams that you just completely irrationally dislike, like for no reason. Like for me, I just don't like the Milwaukee Brewers. I don't know why. I won't let it affect like my power rankings voting or stuff like that. Like they've been consistent power rankings team for us, but I just don't like them. Something about the stadium, the team, that it's them and the Braves are two teams that I don't know. I don't like them for some reason. And then Michael Conforto would be a player that like I just don't like. And there's no reason. He seems like a fine guy. Seems like a fine ball player. Just not a fan. Do you guys have any players or teams like that just don't click with you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the Dodgers and the Yankees, but they're kind of obvious as to why you wouldn't like them, considering that they kind of have that superiority complex, I guess you'd say. Players, I was never a Brett Gardner fan. Even though
That's a good
he is
one.
a gamer, you kind of compare him to Brandon Nimmo in the sense that they're both gamers, but Nimmo's obviously the more talented player. I don't know. It's just not a Teixeira fan. Guys like that, I don't know. Guys that just came across as kind of arrogant, I never really cared for.
Yeah, for the most part, I liked everybody. Unless I would say like the most that I'm starting to not like somebody is the Toronto Blue Jays, just for being like what they continue to do, what they did to the Orioles, and I've never been because I've been like a general baseball fan for plenty of years in my life before I finally finished on being an Orioles fan. I kind of just took everybody's side, kind of just figured out what was right, and kind of liked everybody. But for the most part, it's really just been the Blue Jays recently.
I got to add Papelbon to that too. I never liked Papelbon.
Well, that's very rational. No reason.
When he looks in for the signs, he's got his mouth open, like looking in for like, dude, come on, seriously. His mouth is really like wide open, like looking at it. It's just he looked ridiculous, like absolutely ridiculous.
I wish he could have pitched that Jabba Chamberlain game in Cleveland, back in the what is that 2008 or so?
8 or 7.
7, yeah. When all the bugs are swarming him, Papelbon's out there with a mouthful of bugs. But, I guess the Tigers too. I don't know. I think it's because they have boring jerseys that I just like. They just have like the home. Any team like that, Dodgers, Yankees, Tigers, any teams that are I find them boring.
All right,
But
just one hot take before we get away from the Blue Jays too much. Tell me they are not going to be the next version of the Chicago White Sox.
yeah, with all the talent and they do nothing with it.
And they're going to have to start selling. I don't know if they
I
sell
will-
this because in the AL East, it's so different.
I will say, unlike the White Sox, they've actually made some good moves with their money. Whereas the White Sox would go and make bring in kind of silly past prime players that didn't make any sense to bring in. The Blue Jays went and got like a George Springer, which made sense. Moves like that. I think they've made better moves, but I think the same sentiment where they should be this upper echelon team that never clicks.
Another thing with the White Sox is they have guys like Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, Tim Anderson. Yeah, they can't stay healthy. They have all the talent in the world. They can't stay healthy. You look at the Blue Jays, you got guys like Vladdy, Bichette, Matt Chapman. They're all consistently relatively healthy players. So I think that makes a big difference. The White Sox, you're lucky if you get 100 games out of Robert, 100 games out of Jimenez. So I think health is a big thing with the White Sox. A lot of their stars historically can't stay healthy.
And I think the day that the Blue Jays fire sale happens, we're going to get on here and we're all going to have a beer together because that's going to be a celebratory day for us for sure because we will be the top of the AL East while they're selling. So looking forward to that. You guys have anything else for quick hits here before we move on?
One thing. Do not count out those St. Louis Cardinals. That NL Central is disgusting. It's gross, not in the good way. It is just pitiful. They're only 5 games out of first place right now. That's a good week of baseball, and the other team not playing well. I feel like they're definitely going to still win this division. I'll double down on that, triple down on that, whatever I have to.
Yeah, I mean 7-3 last 10, starting to catch on there. It's just a matter of how does the starting pitching fare throughout the season health-wise, and what deadline moves do you make? And if you're them in that weak-ass division, even if you go to the deadline 5 games out, you go for it full blown. Even though that third division, like we talked about in the last episode, that third, because they probably would be the third division winner record-wise. Doesn't mean all that much.
That division will be.
Yeah. So they won't be one of the top 2 spots and they'll have to play through a wild card round. But I think you go for it, even if you're 6-7 games out of that division. Honestly, if you're the Cardinals, but I'll say that we were wrong for trashing them if they turn it around. But that was a rough start, and they're still 7 under 500, which is crazy because the winner of that, the leader in that division, is 3 games over 500 right now, and they have, let's see, how many less wins than the Tampa Bay Rays right now? 24. They have 10 less wins than the Tampa Bay Rays right now. The leader of that division. That's disgusting. That the leader of the NL Central would be 10 games back of first place in the AL East. That's pitiful.
You're in last place. I think the Brewers or Pirates, whoever's in first place right now, is in last place in the AL East.
Yeah, because the Blue Jays have 25, and the leader of that, the Brewers and Pirates both have 21 or 24. Sorry, that's disgusting.
Divisions are so gone.
That's pathetic. Yeah. Oh yeah. This is getting a shakeup by 2030 for sure, because the AL East is this way for the foreseeable future. There's no point in the next 5 years that the AL East isn't like this. So it's gonna force their hand because that is disgusting. That's really bad. Even the AL Central, first place, the Twins would be in last place in the AL East. So something's got to be done with that. You got to break this up. It's like a monopoly. It's like if Walmart, Stop and Shop, ShopRite all banded up to make one big superstore and put all of the Krogers out of business. But we'll move on now to the Major League Players of the Week if you have those ready, Jim.
Yep. So starting off AL Player of the Week, we got Aaron Judge coming back from injuries, performing really well as expected. 12 hits, 5 home runs, 12 RBI, 444 average, 1074 slug, and a 1633 OPS. NL Player of the Week, less familiar guy, Nolan Gorman of the Cardinals. 12 hits, 4 home runs, 12 RBI, 444 average, 963 slug, and a 1444 OPS. AL Pitcher of the Week is Michael Kopech of the White Sox. He had an 8-inning, no-run, 10 strikeout, just 1 hit and 1 walk allowed start this week. And the NL Pitcher of the Week is Michael Wacha of the Padres, who's kind of seeing a resurgence in his career. Always had issues with health. He had to start this week, 7 innings, no runs, 11 strikeouts, 1 hit, and no walks. So the AL Rookie of the Week is Tanner Bibby of the Guardians. I think he pitches today in one of the doubleheader games, so we'll see how he does today. He has 7.2 inning pitch during the start, 1 run, 7 strikeouts, 2 hits, no walks, and a .26 whip. And the NL Rookie of the Week is a Mets player. I think it's the first Mets player this year to get any award. Kodai Senga. He won his start this week. He went 6 innings, just 1 run, 12 strikeouts against the Rays, which is really impressive. Did allow 3 hits and the 3 walks. It's concerning, but that's kind of been his big Achilles heel this year is the walks. But he is starting to get better control. So, yep, that's our MLB Players of the Week.
Where would you put Senga in a NL Rookie of the Year rankings right now with a 3.77 as a rookie in Major League Baseball in the NL East, which is a pretty good division? Where would you put him right now with the NL Rookie of the Years?
He's probably like 4 or 5, right? I don't think there's been really any NL rookies that really have been that impressive this year that I can think of off the top of my head. But he's definitely got to be top 5, if not top 3. He's been pretty durable so far. The strikeouts have been there. It's just that I think the whip is still pretty high. It's got to be at least like a 1.3. So he's got to get that down, but his control does look better. I think he's pitching against the Cubs next. So, I mean, I think that's a pretty good matchup for him.
Brad, what do you think?
Correct.
My apologies. I'd probably put him 3rd right now because you got James Outman, who's been pretty disgusting with the Dodgers. And then Corbin Carroll, I would put 2nd, right behind Outman. If you want to put Corbin 1st, I wouldn't be opposed. But he's probably 3rd. And right behind him, I'd probably put Beatty. Beatty's been pretty good this year as well. So, I mean, those 2 Mets would probably round out my top 3.
It would be awfully cool to see Yoshida and Senga both win the Rookies of the Year, I think, which would also bring up a bit of a conversation on international players winning the Rookie of the Year, because you're talking about 30-year-old man and Senga competing against a 22-year-old kid in Corbin Carroll for the same award there. And yes, he's a rookie to Major League Baseball, but no, he is not a rookie to professional baseball. And the leagues over in Japan, Korea, really are starting to be on par with some of the lower level MLB teams. So the competition that Sengo is facing over there really is not all that different than what he's facing. Of course, he's not getting the Braves and the upper echelon teams like that over there, but he's still facing major league caliber guys. So I don't know. What do you guys think about older international players coming over? Should there be an age cutoff on the Rookie of the Year, or do you think it's just all fair? It's your first year in Major League Baseball. You're technically a rookie. Or would you weigh that into your voting at all if you were a voter on the fact that he is a 30-year-old with experience? How would you approach that?
I don't know. I mean, you're a rookie to Major League Baseball, so I don't really have much of an issue with it, especially considering as pitchers. I think in Japan, the balls are a little smaller. I think they might be a little tackier. I know the strike zone is much bigger, I believe, than the MLB strike zone. So it is a different experience pitching there. So I think even though you're coming into a new league, you are going across the country, playing in a different playing away from home, different experience with the bigger balls and the less tack to the balls, smaller strike zone. So I think it is a lot tougher than we kind of give people credit for coming over.
Yeah, I would say it wouldn't affect their rookie eligibility per se, but I would probably weigh it, especially when you have a 22-year-old doing it and then a 30-year-old who's pitched 8 professional seasons in Japan already, as opposed to the kid has a year or two in the minor leagues or is right out of college. I think that would hold a little more value than what the international player was doing. But if the international player is deserving of the award their first year in the league here, I'm not opposed to giving it to him.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, is that every rookie should obviously be eligible, but I think I would just weigh it into my voting a little bit more, that they have that kind of experience under their belt. But Bradley, you want to take it with the MLB umpires of the week?
So our best umpire of the week was Tuesday, the Tampa Bay Rays and the New York Mets game. Rays won that game 8-5. His overall accuracy 99%, overall consistency 97, called ball 99, and called strike was 100%. His relative accuracy was plus 5%, 7.5 more correct calls than your average umpire. Overall factor was 0.07 runs for the Mets, and he missed one call all day. It came with the bases empty in the bottom of the third inning. It was an 0-1 count. Strike should have been called a ball. Pretty masterful game, considering there's 13 runs scored in the game and you had virtually no factor on that game. Worst umpire was Ramon De Jesus, who is, I believe, our first returner of the year for worst umpire. He did the game in Texas on Friday. The Rangers won the game 7-2. Overall accuracy was 86%. Overall consistency 88. Called ball was 97%, which is league average, and then his called strike accuracy was 60%, when league average is 88%. That is disgusting. He had a minus 6.6% below expected call percentage, which is 9.1 fewer correct calls. His overall factor was 1.1 runs for the Rangers.
I feel like it was a pretty bad week for umpires too. I was seeing lots of bad clips on Twitter this week. So to be the worst of the worst this week is really an accomplishment. But we could move it on now to our minor league players of the week.
So the AAA player was Reese Olson, starting pitcher for the Toledo Mud Hens. 23 years old, was a 2018 13th rounder out of high school in Georgia. And he was traded to the Tigers from the Brewers in the 21 deadline trade, which sent Daniel Norris to the Brewers. He's their number 11 prospect right now. He's kind of struggled this year up in AAA, but he was fairly good at AA last year, which enabled them to put him on their 40-man roster. I'd imagine he pitches in the majors at some point this year, whether that he makes a spot start or two or he's goes to the bullpen. I would see him up this year. This past week against the Omaha Storm Chasers, went 5 innings, only gave up 1 hit, no runs, 2 walks, struck out 9, and picked up the win. Double A level, Emmett Sheehan. He's starting pitcher for the Tulsa Drillers, 23 years old, 2021 sixth rounder out of Boston College. He is 13th in the Dodgers system right now. He's kind of continued to dominate the minor leagues this year. He's got a 1.85 ERA and a .82 WHIP, 58 strikeouts in 34 innings. He seems like the next pitcher up in this Dodgers pipeline of pitchers who just run through the minor leagues. This week he went against the Corpus Christi Hooks, who is the Astros affiliate. 5 innings, 2 hits, no runs, no walks, 10 strikeouts. Now, high A. With these awards, I don't like to give it to the top tier guys who just rake every week.
No other option this week.
So it was kind of tough to go against this, but this player left me no choice. It was Jackson Holliday. This past week, we'll start with his accolades. He's the shortstop for the Aberdeen Ironbirds, 19 years old. Orioles' number 1 prospect. He's the number 3 prospect in baseball, the son of Matt Holliday, drafted 1-1 last year out of high school. He's just been there hasn't been any words to describe what he has done this year and even last year so far in the minor leagues. This past week, he was 11 for 17, doubled 3 times, tripled 3 times, homered twice, drove in 13, and had a 22.00 OPS. On the low A level, it was Ryan Ritter. He's a shortstop for the Fresno Grizzlies, 22 years old, was a 2022 4th rounder out of Kentucky. He's not inside the Rockies top 30 right now. I don't think he'll be spending a lot more time down in low A. He's kind of raked out of college, slashing 275, 403, and a 558 slug, good for a 960 OPS in the low A level right now. This past week, he was 9 for 20, scored 5 times, doubled twice, homered twice, drove in 6, and had a 1328 OPS.
I mean, just to talk a little bit more about what Holliday's doing, as Dean Kramer gives up a home run to Matt Chapman right in front of me, so I'm in a bad mood now. But talking about Holliday, he's played 53 games so far in the minor leagues as an 18 and 19-year-old, 242 plate appearances, and he has a 500 on-base percentage, and that's across rookie ball, high A, and low A. He's hitting 358. He's on base half of the time. Has an 1100 OPS. He's playing MLB The Show, Road to the Show on beginner is basically what he's doing. He's far too advanced for high A. We need to get Mike Elias on the phone and start moving this guy along because he's going to be, by midseason, the number 1 prospect in baseball. I would go as far to say as he is a better prospect than Adley Rutschman was, and that he is in that Bryce Harper tier of prospect. Bold take from my part, but what he's doing right now is just it's insane. It's not talked about enough, and this kid is going to. If Adley was like the game changer for the franchise, Jackson is going to be the over the top, the piece that puts it over the top. But happy Adley Day, Brad. A year ago today, Brad and I were in the car right about now driving down to Baltimore on a whim.
Probably in some Jersey traffic right now.
We were definitely in New Jersey right about now. Or probably going over the GW. We left at about noon, so probably in New York City, New Jersey right now, headed down to Baltimore. We saw Adley's debut, and since then we've won 97 games since that day in the year of Adley Rutschman. So it's been crazy. That was a great trip. That was a ton of fun and a day that we'll definitely remember for the rest of our lives, watching that ball fall into right field there. And the pure shock of seeing Adley Rutschman turn second base and go for third there, just looking at each other like, oh my God, he's going for 3 here, and came in standing up. So that's
still
a moment.
Still his only career triple.
Yeah, and Matt Wieters before him only had one career triple, so Adley tied that in his first game there. So that was a super cool moment that we're for sure going to remember forever, and hopefully we'll get him to sign those ticket stubs one day. But so that was super cool. Happy Adley Day. He's not catching today, unfortunately, but we gotta get him some rest days from behind the dish. But we're gonna go to the power and sour rankings now. I am gonna make you all go to social media just to find the sour rankings. But I will spoil the number one for you and tell you that it is the San Diego Padres, who are absolutely abysmal right now. 1-9 in their last 10. They're laughing and hanging out in the dugout. At least they're having fun out there, right? But they're playing horribly. 8.5 games back of the Dodgers now. 4-game losing streak. It's all. So if you want to talk about a team that's maybe the next White Sox, maybe that's where you got to look. Is the San Diego Padres, because they're doing much worse than the Toronto Blue Jays are. At least the Blue Jays are 4 games over right now. The Padres have fallen to 6 games under. So they're terrible out there. But we'll take it to the power rankings instead. So at number 6, the New York Yankees have made their way up from the 10 spot. The Yankees have gotten hot. They got Aaron Judge back. DFAing Aaron Hicks doesn't hurt. So they've made their way up to the number 6. So just to point that out, that's the biggest jump this week. I know we usually start at 5, but a jump from 10 to 6 is our biggest jump this week. Number 5, the Houston Astros have re-entered the top 5 after falling off to the number 7 last week. The Los Angeles Dodgers are the number 4 team. They made it back into the top 5, back onto the power rankings last week after falling off for the first time in 2.5 years of doing the show. So they are back, and they're at number 4. Number 3 is the Atlanta Braves, who were number 2 last week. So the Atlanta Braves have fallen to 3, and taking their spot at number 2 is our Baltimore Orioles. And then number 1, holding strong. What they're doing is, in my mind, definitely not sustainable. But the Tampa Bay Rays still have a 4-game lead on the best record in baseball and hold that number 1 spot in the power rankings there. So y'all head over to our social media at CTBP Pod on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter for things like the fantasy forecast, Ed's call to the show streams, almost Friday posts, the MLB research stat of the week, Sunday Night Baseball pick'em coming out today for Sunday Night Baseball, all sorts of things like that, as well as the power sour rankings, players of the week, all that kind of stuff. So head over to at CTBP Pod, and we'll see you all here next week with another episode.